pudding snacks.
What it do, snackers, snackettes, and snack X's? It's your boy Gage. I'm here with Sin. I'm here with Jokes. I am here with Frosty. And it is time for another episode of Spoiler Boys.
Spoiler boys.
And girl.
Yeah. Well done. It only took 8 weeks to get perfected. You know what I mean? We are here to spoil the final episode of season 1 of the Acolyte, Star Wars: The Acolyte. This episode titled Acolyte. The Acolyte. They did the thing. Yay. All right, look. Who wants to go first?
Scores?
Cool, I'll go first. Oh man. Sin, grade for this episode.
I'm at a 7.
Okay. Frosty, dare I ask?
I'm going to break your scale right now. 13.
My favorite number.
Oh.
Well done. Jokes?
I'm at an 8.
8. Excellent. I think I'm at a 6.
Ooh, man.
I need it.
I might come up while Frosty drinks the blood of Jedi. It could come up. Might take some convincing. I have issues. Why don't we start there? Jokes, do you have issues?
Maybe not necessarily as it pertains to the episode, but I think it gets to be more of like the Star Wars lore from this episode, I believe, more than anything else.
Well, let me interject and say that I think the purpose of this show is to canonize changes in Star Wars lore.
Mm-hmm.
That is where I think we are in the what was Star Wars canon changed to Star Wars legend, but kind of has remained in the background as some level of fact. No, we reserve the right as the owners of the IP to remove these things from canon and adjust the canon as we see fit to shoehorn it into the story that we have already written to make that better. Like, we need to fix some things. And I think this is an attempt to do that. I think that this is a show that by design is in place to make the sequel trilogy better by making it make sense. And therefore making everything else that came before it even better because the ending is now better. That's where I think we are. And I have to admit that while I am not a Star Wars aficionado by any means, I have dabbled in the lore for a long time. There are things that have existed for decades that are the way that things are supposed to be. And then those things just all of a sudden didn't count anymore, so to speak. They got moved into legend. And I think we're kind of picking and choosing the pieces from legend that we want to keep and make canon, while we kind of explore making adjustments to what it is. And so I think that issue that you have is also one that I have, and probably one that a lot of, especially more casual fans, and when I say casual, I mean casual in the way that you can actually call yourself a fan of Star Wars. I'm not talking about people who just like, that seems cool, let me go to the theater or whatever. I'm talking about like I would say that the only reason why I am more than a regular casual fan, right? The difference is that like my Star Wars isn't just the movies they put on screen. My Star Wars is in shows,
Mm-hmm.
and more importantly, in video
Video
games
games.
Mm-hmm.
and things like that, right? That they are canonizing like video games and things like that. I'm really in like this show makes me so much more intrigued about what Star Wars Outlaws is going to be in terms of what it means to the canon. So I hear you there. And there is a huge divide, I feel like, in the purists, even though in Star Wars, mostly if you're a big fan of the Jedi. I think there are a lot of people who are like, this is ludicrous. Like, I can't deal with this kind of a thing. So I understand where you are on that. But if your issues are mostly canon and that kind of stuff, I think we can talk through that. I'm interested in issues with the episode. And then we can get into maybe issues that are in the greater, like this season as it is. If you don't have any issues with the episode, I'm going to let Sin get some things off of his chest.
Go for it.
Issues with the episode. Here's a question I do need to ask the panel first and foremost. My understanding is this was a one and done show, correct? Was that supposed to be the thing when it
I
started?
don't
Like,
think they ever
Not
made that. Yeah,
necessarily.
I don't think they ever made
Okay.
that clear.
okay,
And
because that was part of my issue with the episode, not getting answers to questions that have been looming. It kind of like pissed me off by the end of it. Like them bringing up them not knowing how she created the twins. Like, okay, y'all gonna tell us it's the last freaking episode? Nope, they just mentioned that, went right past it. You know, homeboy had his helmet off. They sense each other. Oh, that's my student. Okay, we got a little something here. And then just nothing.
Well, they didn't say that, but you could clearly assume that. Like it wasn't said, but yeah.
Yeah, that it was something else. I can't think of what the third one was, but it's something storyline related. I know Darth Plagueis or whatever is showing up creepily in the back at some point. Like, okay, that's it. There's just the creepy dude standing there. Like, just I only know who he is because I had to look it up.
just sprinkle.
I was listening to somebody talk about it. And they said, "Oh, it was Plagueis." Like, oh, that's who it was. I didn't know. To me, it was just some creepy, alien guy looking around or whatever. But just stuff like that was grinding my gears. The action was fine to me. The action was great. But that type of stuff kind of just not tying up bows on loose ends. Like it just was had me upset, I would say, by the end of it. That's why I asked that question. Was it supposed to be just the ending, or like was it supposed to be one and one thing, or like was it supposed to get a second season, or just
Frosty,
Mm-hmm.
probably most interested to hear whether or not you have issues with this episode at all.
I had one issue and I've totally forgot just because I'm like in my head, I'm rebutting everything that you guys are saying.
Forget the
I'm
issue
here.
that
I'm
I
here.
have.
I was watching you get antsy. Okay, you do have one. We'll come back. Like we'll kind of we'll circle through. You can't think of it. It's not that big a deal. What issue? Before I state any issues I might have, what issues would you like to address?
Darth Plagueis is a huge Star Wars nerd aficionado, like personality in the lore. So for your casual fan who's not like super into it, or even like the more than casual fan, might not necessarily get as excited to see this particular character. But for me, who has read Darth Plagueis' book, who knows all about it, that was one of the most exciting things that's happened on screen for me in a really long time. Especially considering he is a thoroughbred Sith. So I understand like just the peak, like for the casual fan, that's going to be hard to understand. Like, who the hell was that? Like, totally get that.
I will say that again, like trying to do a show like this, it is very, very difficult to do the kind of thing that will please the casual viewer and please the person who has read all of the legend and knows all the backs. And so, like, for me watching this and seeing that, I immediately knew who it was.
Well, 100%.
We've talked about him on this show, like on Spoiler Boys. I knew who it was. My disappointment is that they did nothing
with it.
to explain it at all. And I know that there are like hundreds of thousands of people who are watching this who are like, what was that? What was that? What was that thing? What was that creepy thing? And like, to be honest, I don't listen, as a person who consumes a lot of content from a storytelling standpoint, that's a terrible thing to do. It's a terrible thing to put something that is that kind of Easter eggy thing, like in there, just like that's that big of a deal, just for the people who know, and not give it anything. And I feel like there should have been
not even an inkling that it's a bigger deal. No type of music change or nothing to be like, oh, hold up. Or you want to dive into a little more.
I'm trying to like think of instances. Like, this is not the first time this has happened in any kind of specific fandom. Like, I know they pulled this kind of crap in Marvel. Your casual viewer had no idea who some of those people were until we got 2 or 3 movies deep. So it sucks because the fact that they made these episodes so short and the series, the season so short, like, I definitely think that they could have explored it more. But I almost wonder, in my head, I'm thinking they added this scene because they know they're going to get a second season, and Leslie Headland has said she wants to explore Plagueis.
Correct.
So it's possible that this scene wasn't even supposed to be in this show. I don't know this. Like, I didn't read it, but like...
No, that's how it feels to me. It looks like they cut it to add that, which I also think will dig into an issue for me a little bit. Like, one of the things that I've never liked about the Sith thing, the rule of 2 thing, when there's clearly there's always got to be more than 2.
Yeah,
it just has to be. And clearly there are, at least at this point, right? And so somebody's not gonna make it.
Clearly,
like, somebody's not gonna make it. That has to be what it is. But in this show, they don't talk about that. They don't say that that's an established thing. That's a thing that, again, in visual lore, only really exists in the prequel trilogy that people might know in some way from that. But they didn't state that in this show, right? And again, they could be rewriting things and doing things in a way where it's like you had a beautiful explanation when we talked last week about why his ship would only seat 2. But now there's 3. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you gotta go to the cargo hold.
In my head, it's like, but there also could be more. Also, while I would normally say it's entirely possible that he's technically not a Sith because he said, you would call me a Sith. Maybe that's not who he is or what he wants to be. Maybe he really is just kind of trying to serve out this master because he owes him something for something, and he's not a Sith. But
he could be an
apprentice. He must have bled a kyber crystal.
He did. Right? He did, yeah. He bled a kyber crystal. It's possible he is not... His master has not yet called him a Sith. And so... To give them more context, he says, you would call me a Sith, but like he doesn't consider himself one because he hasn't reached that title yet.
Right. Which again,
I can see that.
I'm not a big fan of just kind of things being left on the table, but I understand when we cut and we change and we rewrite and we redo things.
Things happen.
I think this show did itself a disservice simply in the fact that they made the episodes so short and the season
Yeah.
Agreed.
so short.
Season finale. I felt like this episode, at least if any of them, should have been the one that was at least that 50 minute to an hour
It was
just
longer.
to
It was like 50
It was
minutes.
longer, but like all of the episodes should have been even longer than this. Like the finale should have been longer. We should have gotten a heck of a lot more. That is the one consistent complaint that I have through the entire series is that the episodes, the season, it's too short for all of this stuff that they are trying to give us. Whether you be a casual fan or even a super fan, it's not enough time.
I think that the issue, I'm going to be honest. I know I've complained about the timing for the show. Like some episodes being like 35 minutes and some of them being like 40 minutes. And then you have one that's like 32 minutes or whatever it is, right? I know I've complained about that. I don't necessarily think that the length of the episodes is the problem as much as the content and the story they're trying to tell does not work in that format. Because for all intents and purposes, we got a lot more story in these 8 episodes than you would ever get if they had put a big budget movie together and only gave you an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, right? We got a lot more than that. And you can tell a great, concise story that gives you everything you need in that time frame. And you have much more time to work with in what you're doing here. I think that the way that it ends up being written or the way they end up editing, right? Like something about just whatever the budgets are, what like something about that is forcing changes in the show by the time it makes it to our eyes that is having, I think, an adverse effect on their ability to tell a clean, concise story that really feels like it has a beginning and an end and definitively gives you answers for what you're looking for. And it is done over and over and over again in 22-minute episodes, like through seasons, and has been done for decades. It can be done no matter how
I think it's a Disney thing. Disney's shows are consistently too short and they won't listen to the audience. They throw these big budgets together and then it's like, how much did you cut from this show to make it these stupidly short episodes? Just give us the whole thing.
You're not wrong. I think it is a Disney thing, but I think that there are many voices that are speaking to them about what it is they're doing and trying to comb through all of the, oh, the show's great, I loved it, action's great, love the characters, so sad, so and so died. But like, I think those things, like compared with people going, this is terrible, it's too short, they should have gave us more, blah blah blah, compared with whatever they're getting back in stats. They say, nope, everybody's watching it, everybody's loving it, they're tuning in every Tuesday and then they're watching it all week long, and it's, you know what I mean?
It's
and
all we get. Like we don't have the option. Like if we want to consume that, we have to watch it. But the only thing we can do is really like yell at Disney. Like make the episodes longer, make the seasons longer. Like if everyone collectively did that, maybe that would help. But
their response would be, price of Disney Plus is going up because you want longer episodes and we have to pay people. Like, it, you know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of this vicious cycle. So again, it's not like you're not wrong. I think that it does a disservice. I think this episode in particular, when I saw the runtime, I was like, okay, they're gonna give us something here. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna get into something here. And I think there's a lot that they leave on the table. Things that I feel like are important. Maybe they're not important to other people. Maybe they feel like they're not that big a deal to the greater good of storytelling. But for me, you can't keep telling me that these are not two different people. You got to explain that to me. let me step away from trying not to have some hubris for a second and say I'm a pretty smart guy. I understand a lot of things. I don't get it. I get it, but I don't get it. Right? So like, make it clear, because nobody's making it clear to anybody, and it's still it's a big secret to all of them.
Yeah.
I don't want it. Doesn't need to be a secret to us. This isn't the kind of thing that I feel like in terms of storytelling needs to be a secret to us. Simply explain it. So like, when I say the kind of viewer I like, you know how like you watch something, whatever, like Frosty, you understand the lore, like you are ingrained in it, like it is your background, it is your tattoos, it is your, like, you get it. I'm the person that goes, all right, y'all keep talking about this Divergence, let's do some research, right? I got it. I know what a convergence is. Two things are coming together. A vergence is two things going apart. Got it. One thing splitting into two. Got it. Where did the one thing come from? What is the one thing? Is the only reason why Luke and Leia are twins because Anakin is the result of a vergence and it didn't split until he had seeds? This is bananas to me. And like, you know, like these are the kind of rabbit holes that like I go down because I'm looking for answers. You're not feeding me, right? And like, to sit back and soak the episode in as an episode, when you start like, when you get to like, May, you and Osha are the same. Stab my man in the chest, then electrocute him. Hold on. Let my man say what he was going to say. Let him finish what he's saying. And even when he says it, you and Osha are the same person. You're not even twins. You're not even twins. You're the same person. Chimere looked at him like, what the are you talking about, dog? He looked at him like, huh? What you mean? Right? Like, he doesn't even know that. And I've been watching this show going, my man Chimere is after them because he knows they the same person and they're virgins. Clearly that's not right. So now in my head, I'm like, oh, well, it must be Plagueis. But they didn't even bother to say his name. So like, if you're watching this and you're just trying to enjoy it, right? You're just watching it, trying to enjoy it. Like, the sheer number of questions that are like, well, what does that mean? Who is that? And here's my biggest problem with this. If they're going to have a season 2, how long is that going to take? Am I going to have to wait until like 2026 to get, because the problem with streaming TV is that now, one, they give you far fewer episodes than you would get of a regular season of TV, the way TV used to be. And then by the time they make the decision to green light it, then shoot it, get the people back, deal with contracts, whatever it is, and they shoot it, you're not getting it for a year and a half. And it used to be like, okay, you set me with a cliffhanger, but it's July. I know next July I'm getting the next season. Like, I already, like, I cool. I don't have to wait that long. Now, not only are we waiting longer, but we don't know when that's going to happen. And like, TV by appointment, it does you a disservice to write something where you are still writing as if it's TV by appointment. Like, you can write the show that way because you know it's coming out on a weekly basis. Yeah. Maybe you don't even know that. Maybe you don't know if they're going to decide to release it all at once, you know what I mean, and let you stream it or not. Disney generally doesn't do that. At the same time, you can write with the idea of like, we're only waiting another 6 months. We've already filmed some of this. We already know like where we're going and what we're doing. And right now you can't necessarily know that because you don't even know if it's greenlit. And maybe their contracts say we'll bring like half the people that were working on it.
Yep.
They not even, unless they do more flashbacks, which is completely possible.
I feel like flashbacks are going to be a major thing. Yep.
I think they'll touch back if they're going to, but I don't think we're going to see Jackie again. I don't think we're seeing Yord. You might get Soul, you might get Indara, but I think the whole goal of Leslie Headland was to explore the Sith, was to
Sure.
expand upon that. So if she has a chance at making a second season, Vernestra's gonna have something in there, May's gonna be part of it, but it's gonna be the journey of the Sith to see how this evil blossomed right under the Jedi's noses. So
I agree. It's just, are
When,
we getting probably
the one.
right? I think the show. I would imagine the show has done well enough that we will get another season.
2.
I don't think there's any question about whether we're going to get another season. I think that's probably pretty definitive. I just, if you're gonna, they probably still won't explain it. I feel like they don't explain it because they don't know. I think that's maybe my biggest thing. Is creating a story, creating lore, making something important, but not actually having an answer for what it actually is. Not actually have. I don't think the story is written. I don't think they know what it means for them to be the same person. And so they can't tell us.
I think they do.
Okay, talk to me.
They've hinted about it throughout the entire season, that there is something special about these girls. They might not necessarily be twins. They are the same person, the virgins, all that kind of stuff. But you don't throw something that altering into a storyline without having a plan as to where that goes.
I agree with that.
Potential past lore.
And
future lore even.
I don't know what it means for the two of them to be the same person. I don't know what that means. When this show started, we were talking about maybe one of them is force projecting the other one and they're not really there. We talked about them not maybe really being twins. We had those discussions, which I think were cool and fun discussions to have at the beginning of it. We should not be having those discussions now.
Hey, listen, that's what I was saying from the jump street. I was like, yeah, they the same one.
There's clearly two of them, but then they're not the same person. But if they are, the same, in some manner, I do think that if the idea of the Virgins, two things coming apart, where the Force is, we have a split that is essentially here's your yin and here's your yang.
Mm-hmm.
This is a divergence in the Force. This is where the Force splits into two, right? And maybe in some way, this is where the Force gets out of balance.
That's what I was gonna, yeah.
Right? That balance of those two beings and one having their memory wiped, you know what I mean, is now not on that light side journey, I guess you could call it.
I don't even think that's gonna last. Obviously we go to the season 2 where I don't think the whole memory wipe thing is going, whether it's someone else that's undoing it per se, or as she's trying to figure out certain pieces of the puzzle, I feel like they're gonna start adding up, and then eventually it's just gonna unlock the memories back. Maybe this is kind of how you say the balance. I think at the core of all of it, we're going to go back to the whole thing with the balance of the Force thing. And I almost feel like the two of them being one being was creating technically it should be the other way, but I think them being whole was what was creating the unbalance. And then having them split created the balance. But I don't think we're going to talk about that, I guess, necessarily as of yet, because I don't know. Obviously, the Sith are a thing, but I don't know if we've really explored that yin and yang, like you said, on there for it.
Sure, with her not having her memories anymore, they don't even have to revisit her again. They can keep going forward with Plagueis and all of that stuff with just the Sith. They don't even have to revisit her anymore with the way she is now.
That would have been fine until Vernestra went to Yoda.
Correct. But we also don't know what she's telling Yoda. We don't know what Yoda knows.
Yoda probably know all of it.
Or I can think of, she told him about her pupil. Like, look,
Maybe.
Maybe.
I got
But
something to
they,
talk to you about.
hey, remember
So
when I
I made a
told you?
mistake,
Yeah,
Remember when I
right?
one of those
told
type of
you
things.
such and such died in the avalanche or something?
turns
Can
out,
you imagine
turns out you
walking
were
in to
right.
talk to Master Yoda and being like, "So what had happened was,
Yep.
like, I don't."
turns out you were right.
Yoda's just gonna be like, no, already I do.
Yeah,
Hey, so my bad, but
Yeah.
we got to fix this.
Yeah. I mean, look. I think there are a million great directions they can go with this. I think that there are great stories to be told about Vernestra. Excuse me. I don't think you can do another season without having flashbacks that have to do with Vernestra
Mhm.
and Chimere in some manner. Like you have to do that. Let me tell you what my biggest issue with this episode is. Where the hell is Mother Coral? Bro.
She got low.
Scheming. Scheming.
Where the hell is Mother Coral? And why was she Darth Plagueis the whole time? Nah, dog, like for real, where did she go? Because that makes no sense to me. I just like you. You can't do that. They went back to Brendock, and I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
she's
she's
there.
there. She's there.
It's going down. Like
Oh,
there's something lost
There he
him. You know he's
goes.
gonna kick us all out when he comes back.
yeah.
Like how do you can't? It's not okay to overlook that. And maybe you could call that an issue with the episode before, but no, right here, right
Finale.
now, tell me what's going on. Give me.
Apparently, there was an interview with Leslie that she hinted that yes, Coral is alive and on a planet that most of us know.
What is like a sand planet that we all?
Dathomir.
Yo.
Dathomir.
Oh, okay. I was thinking that, but I'm like, oh God, are we doing Tatooine already?
No, remember I said she
It's
was
him.
gonna break off and like start the like she was gonna be.
Uh-huh.
Maybe she's the start of Mother Talzin. She is the mother of Mother Talzin. Like
That's literally like that's what I said. I'm like, they could be the offshoot because they got wiped out, and they could be absolutely. And again, she had a power. Son of a biscuit.
Sin.
Of course, bro.
Now everything's out of whack.
All right, buddy. All right, buddy. He's still kind of frozen to me. Let's see how this turns out.
One more time.
We'll
and
try
I'll
you
bow-
again, Sin.
One more time, I'll bow out. I ain't gonna keep letting it happen. So go ahead.
You know, maybe Mother Coral, yes, is the first Night Sister of all Night Sisters. Maybe she is Darth Maul's great grandmother.
That's a lot of greats. I don't think it's that many. It only takes place 100 years before.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. Right?
Hey, listen, depending on how they age,
We understood where he was going with it.
how they age, great may even be an exaggeration in there either way.
Depending how long
Yeah.
they age, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think in 100 years, 20 years removed, 5 greats is not 2020. Yeah, that's not so bad. That sounds about right. 5 greats in 100 years. If let's talk about what we like. Let's do that right now. Jokes.
Mm-hmm.
What do you like about this episode?
For me, I think I'm the opposite of where you're at. So I kind of like that a lot of these things, like a lot of stuff was just left on the table and just created so many extra questions that were on there. Kind of like just like Sin said, action was solid. I enjoyed the conversations that were being had. between the characters. Saul was getting set up from Jump Street.
That's what
With
I didn't like.
really,
Ernestra threw him under the bus. That biatch, like, you just
You didn't like Saul, so what difference
ruined
does
his
it make?
legacy. Like,
hey, listen, Saul
I
was
just
getting
like
set up from Jump Street, but you know,
he didn't have a
he,
legacy. He was trash.
unfortunately, he had to take the L.
that fight with
And
Kamir was badass.
oh no, the fight was clean. But yeah, he was getting set up from Jump Street.
Mhm.
And I liked how from the beginning up till now, we talk about May and Osha and doing the flip flop and exchanging sides. I enjoyed seeing that play out the whole way up to this point on there. Um, I like I said, I honestly didn't have issues with the episode itself. So like everything about this episode for me was fine.
Got it.
Joke's my best friend right now.
Jokes needs a best friend, so that's cool. Sin?
Outside of the stuff we've been talking about, like kind of leaving stuff on the floor and not giving no explanation and stuff, I actually enjoyed the episode for what it was. I liked the lightsaber battles, like that shot with them with the lightsabers against each other and the sparks coming on his helmet. That was dope. Jokes, I agree. I did like seeing, kind of knew where it was going, but the transition of Ocean May kind of switching around, even wearing the dark and light colors at the end. I didn't think she was going to do it, so I kind of like when she kind of just off. So, like, I didn't think it was going to go that hard. Then, Kyber Crystal turns red and she, basically becomes the dark side at that point, whatever, Sith, apprentice, whatever. But I enjoyed,
Acolyte.
all
An
that.
acolyte.
Yeah, the Acolyte. I enjoyed all that. Like I said, overall, I didn't have, outside of stuff just not being explained, I didn't have any problems with it for the most part.
Frosty?
How much time do we have?
As much time as you need.
And with me, I mean,
Let's do it.
You guys
We got until Sin kicks us out again with his internet. Let's go in here like
You guys were mentioning a lot of the stuff that I absolutely loved about this. We finally got back to the like kung fu movie choreography. I loved that flow backwards from Seoul when they come off that ledge. It was beautifully done. In my head, I was like, people are gonna hate on this, but I love it. Bleeding of the Kyber crystal, the force choke being the way that she kills without a weapon, and Chimera being like, she's the one in more ways than one. They hold hands in the end. His little, like, they're back and forth in the ship. Like, her outfit is fire. I want to wear that so much.
Cosplay coming soon.
Probably not. Probably not. But that there was so much for me to love about this episode. Darth Plagueis, obviously. I can literally go on. This whole series was me. Like, this was for me.
it was everything you know what? I think that's probably the most important thing. That, like, I think for the people, I have to try to look at this from like an objective point of view that is, like, yep, I can like it. I can, hey, you give me a good fight scene, I'm in there. I like, look, the fight scene in, like, what was that, episode 5?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Incredible, right? Like,
Yeah.
incredible multi-person fight scene. Like, we just never seen anything like that in Star Wars. I still think that is like my favorite fight scene that has ever happened. In terms of like two folks one-on-one, like, I still think the best fight scene is probably it's Anakin and Obi-Wan on Mustafar at the end. Like, that fight scene goes so hard. It's so fast. It's all over the place. It's in hallways. It's outside. It goes so hard, bro.
Whole time.
Yeah, it's just like, but I like the timing of the fight
Mhm.
in this, the choice of force powers, the throwing of two sabers, the I'm
Yeah.
gonna use my force
I
power
like
to knock
the
out
red
the
saber with
baby.
the short blade. I like the
I
short blade.
love that he
That was cool.
immediately was like,
Yeah.
Just good, and then I was like,
Yep.
oh, okay.
I need that
Yeah.
saber right there.
"Oh my!" As soon as it's released, I don't care how
I
much it
need that
costs.
saber right there.
Black series right there.
It's a I mean, look, they did it, and the idea that there are things I love about this. Like, a question that really gets answered for me is like, okay, Chimera is hiding from Vernestra. That's really why he's wearing the helmet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that for me was like,
But that
when
thing
she
was
landed
quick.
and got on the
Oh,
planet, was like, you like,
he was like, oh, hey, listen,
bro.
that was a straight Professor X,
And you know what?
Professor
If
X
this wasn't
Magneto
if this
type
wasn't
of
Disney Plus, he would have probably said "fuck."
Yeah.
Oh, listen,
He basically did say that, right? Like, but it also for me is, what did he do?
Oof.
What did he do? Because whatever he did,
It was bad enough that she literally scarred him. She attempted to kill him.
Mhm.
like
Hey,
those
we
scars
know Jedi's
probably
got a
weren't
killing streak
supposed
now.
to be scars. They were probably supposed to be finishing moves.
She
Like,
thought she was doing what was right.
But those
Probably.
definitely whips.
The Jedi know what are right. What's right.
Whap.
Wow.
she probably
Yep.
was doing what was right.
She
Like,
got him at
whatever
least two
he
good
did
times.
probably was like,
Maybe
Wait.
he just had an opposing view to hers, and she was like, "That's not the Jedi way."
Whop.
Wow.
yeah, I seriously doubt that. But listen, feel free to be that upset at the Jedi. Like, if it makes you feel better. Like, I seriously doubt that's what it is.
You are a Jedi.
The
I'm a
Jedi
Sith.
slaughtered an entire coven of witches because they thought that was doing the right thing. So
When did that happen?
Soul slaughtered their mother because he was like, "I don't know what's happening." Dead.
He killed one person.
Yeah.
And then Indara killed the rest.
Nora did the rest of the work.
Accidentally.
No.
Yeah.
No,
That was not
that
accidentally.
is not
Yeah.
what happened.
She
That
knew
is
what
not
she
what
was
happened.
doing.
That
Please
is
try to
fake
twist the
news.
story to fit your
He
narrative.
killed one
Sith.
person, and she saved her friend. That's it. They died. That was not slaughtering. Like, you make it sound like they went in there and just took lightsabers out and
What-
literally
Kill some
limbs
younglings.
and corpses
here,
of
Hey,
it.
she had like she killed out here killing some
hold
younglings.
on. Now we're really gonna have this. Like, that's not what happened. That's not what happened.
They weren't like they didn't even want to like listen to what the
Frosty.
witches had to say. Like Mother Anastasia, yes, she came off a little aggressive, but like then like
Yeah.
you don't know what she's doing. Maybe
Yeah, but
she's
you have a
just-
split second to make that decision. I mean, do you
Uh-huh.
take a chance or like?
maybe she's trying to protect her people because the Jedi are coming off like we're worried about these kids. We don't think that they're safe with you because they haven't listened to the whole story. All they've heard is a kid's version of this story who has skewed the facts. She didn't take
Wait a
what her
minute.
mother said and recite
Wait a
it correctly.
Wait a minute.
People's
Here's
court.
what I want to say. I love that your opinion on it is that the Jedi didn't listen to everybody and skewed the facts, while I listened to you skew the facts about what the Jedi did. You're literally doing the same thing that you're upset with them for doing. That's like,
Did
like
he
they
not
didn't, like,
kill the witch and then they killed all the rest of the witches? That's
Nope,
literally what
that's not
happened.
what happened.
Hey, listen,
That's
if you had a
not
witch
what
coming
happened.
at you to just turn into black dust, eyes turn black, you ain't gonna be like, oh, she's finna kill me, right?
Listen, no. I don't even want to, like, it's not, listen, it's not even about being afraid of, again, fear, being afraid of, like, what Mother Anastasia was doing and what that ability, it's not even that. That's not even, we're talking, remember earlier, like, in a few episodes back, we talked about semantics, right? Remember that when we talked about semantics? Semantics is that, like, the way you choose to state something is in the way you deliver that message. What anybody who hears that message and didn't see it will take it as. So if you say, nah, the Jedi went in there and slaughtered a bunch of witches, that's not what happened, though. You know what I'm saying? Now,
I'm
even
backing
if
it up.
I
I'm
disagree,
trying
though.
to.
Yeah, I don't think. Listen,
I'm not a great debater. I was never on the debate team.
well,
I'm not good with words.
If you say to someone else, let's say you say to somebody who didn't watch the show, the Jedi went in there and slaughtered a coven of witches.
That was the
In their head,
slaughtered was not the right term for me to use. I apologize.
But that's what I'm saying though. It's the same thing as the Jedi, like that point of view of where the Jedi were and what they did, or them taking one. I think that's part of what is actually the best and most interesting thing about this show, is that the whole purpose of what she was doing was trying to show you, like, Star Wars has for a very long time been about showing things from a certain point of view, right? And in this show, they are at least attempting to show you two opposing points of view. And if you're watching it from a place where you're just watching the story, I think when it starts, it's very easy to kind of still sit the Jedi on this pedestal of like, they're the Jedi and they're the good guys and they're the police and they do, right? And you can very easily be at the end of it still on their side of understanding that they were in a place where they felt like they were doing the right thing because they felt like they were supposed to be protecting children or whatever. You can also look at this from the side of these people who feel like they've been marginalized and hunted down, right? You're from their perspective, even if it wasn't the Jedi that did it, they talk about in early episodes them being hunted down and being slaughtered and basically being the last of their people. And so if these two children are literally the only children you have and they are the next like generation, if you are coming to take them away, you are slaughtering. Even if you're not slaughtering them literally, you're killing off their kind, right? Because now you've taken away the next generation, right? And so that is a reason to be extremely defensive and extremely fearful and to fight back in whatever way you feel like is necessary. You can talk about the Jedi walking in and not listening to anything that they had to say, but also keep in mind that the entire coven was not listening to the words of their own leader. Their leader was saying, nope, it's up to the girls. Let's let them do it. And their coven, they turned on each other on the inside. You now have Mother Coral, who is organizing people within their own coven against their leader, right? Over her dead body.
The Jedi still going in there using fear as essentially not even realizing that they are fearful, have gone in there and used their knowledge, saying like, we don't actually trust you because of what this child said, despite the fact that this child didn't tell us exactly what's going on. There was never a real conversation to be had because there was so much fear. And yes, it was on both sides, absolutely. Yeah. But like, first person to draw like the lethal weapon immediately dead. First witch.
When no bows and arrows pulled out first? Those are
yeah.
I'm talking, but like that's protecting their own. Like
no, they were pulled out first.
The Jedi just decided they were gonna slice into their home. They just broke in.
100%. 100%. It's like Batman trying to solve a crime. He just breaks in, does what he wants, and then they walk out and they let him get away with it. Like again, Batman ain't no superhero. He's a vigilante. You know what I mean? Just on the lam with the backing of the police commissioner. It's one of my biggest. So like, you got to understand, I'm not arguing with you about, this is not about whether or not the Jedi were right. This is about, though, being open enough to make factual statements about where both were wrong and where both were right. Like, it's the kind of, like, this is literally a show that talks about how marginalized communities feel about the police coming in and telling them, like, you don't know how to, it's somebody calling, it's a teacher calling CPS, Child Protective Services, because a kid says, hey, my dad pushed me, or, you know, whatever it is. And them just being like, we don't have time to listen to you. We got to take them out and figure it out after we get the kids, because we have to make sure they're safe first. That is what would happen, right? So, like, it is all of those things, right? And there are errors and issues that are happening on both sides. Both sides they are equally
that's a
at
great way to
fault
put it.
for where Osha and May end up, both of them, right? The only person who may have been right in this is Mother Anastasia.
She did
She's
make
literally-
a mistake.
Yeah.
I think the smoke thing was a mistake. But still
listen,
coming out
Mhm.
and with like
Yeah.
that lightsaber, like
I mean, again, like, you know, if you're walking in with the best of intentions, again, you don't have any business being there, technically. Before they even walked in and saw them, though, Cora was like, get the weapons out, whatever. And it was Mother Anastasia who was like, nope, no weapons, no violence. We're not doing that. Let's have a conversation. You understand what I'm saying? Like, and if Mother Anastasia and Indara had the opportunity to have a conversation between the two of them, if the two people who actually lead were listened to by their own people and they talk to each other, we solve everything.
Yep.
Like, we figure it out, right? It is the movements of the other people. It is that I want to go home, so we got to hurry up and go get these kids. It is so like we have to go in there and protect them, whatever, even though his boss, we'll call it, is like, nah, we really need to talk to the council. Let's figure it out. Let's whatever. And again, I can understand feeling like, man, listen, if we wait for the council, them children gonna be dead.
Dead. Yeah,
right?
that made sense.
So again, I get that. And at the same time, Mother Anastasia being like, no, we're not violence, where the person who birthed them is like, they taking these kids over my dead body, right? Like, you might be the leader. We're having a discussion. You may have created them. I carried them. I birthed them. So Mother Coral's connection to those girls is different. It's totally different, right? And so what she's willing to do as a mother to protect her child in terms of not letting them be taken, where Mother Anastasia and what she's willing to do to give her child the world. You want to be a Jedi. I want you to be able to be whatever you want to be, baby. If you want to be a singer, go be a singer. You want to be a Jedi? That's not what I want for you. But it's not about what I want for you. It's about what you want for you. I can't, it would be wrong of me to hold you in that place. That's my favorite thing about this episode and about this show, is that it does explore all of those different things. And I think a lot of the opposing opinions, right? You are where you are. If you're a Jedi fan, Jedi, why are you making them look bad, right? And if you're a Sith fan, you like, yup, they're terrible, whatever, right? And like, real talk, Frosty, like what I hear right now is you being like, fuck the police. Now we're like, and that's cool. Like, I get it, right? I'm so there. At the same time, mistakes were made. And like,
absolutely,
there isn't anybody who isn't at fault somewhere along the lines. This show has taken the time to show you every mistake that was made, including like, even when Saul, like, as far as I'm concerned, this episode, I think all he was doing was trying to like get a tractor beam ready to pull. Oh, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But my man Basil was like, nah, dog, we about to get these wires out of here.
Sorry, yanking. I was like,
shit down. You're not doing that.
I think he was aiming for kill, and that's why Basil was like, no, you pulled this before, and
I don't
look at
know
how it ate you up. I'm gonna save you from yourself.
I don't know. Listen. One of those things that I feel like in this episode isn't explained very well at all, right? Because I did in my initial, I'm like, he gonna shoot her? Like, he's gonna shoot the shit? Like, what is he doing? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Like.
Right? That's what it looked like, but it doesn't make sense. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
He's worried he's gonna get away, and he's like, nope, we're not having this again. Like,
tractor beam.
Well, yeah, but not like we're not having this again. I'm trying to tell you that I was trying to save you. You know, like,
my problem is I didn't rewatch this, so I don't remember.
Here's the other thing I think is probably one of the most subtle but important things about this episode. the Jedi. I love that conversation when what's his name from the Senate was like in the office. First of all, Mom,
hey, listen,
Martian Manhunter.
He gotta go.
That's who it was. I was like, why do I know his face?
I was like, oh, I'm in the jump universes.
All kinds of stuff. But like his conversation with Vernestra about like, oh, you want to know what I really think?
Y'all need to be
I think the Jedi are far too powerful, way too high up, and I think that when you think you're looking at literally so like the direction that this is going and should be going is so Marvel. Like it's got so many hints of like the Avengers are out of control. If I misplace Thor and the Hulk, you know what I'm saying? I shouldn't have the answer for that. Like you just misplaced like 2 megaton nukes. You don't know where they are. That's not okay. We need the Sokovia Accords. And my man was in that joint getting ready. Like, we need the Sokovia Accords. Like, we have to put the Jedi in check because they're a religious cult that believes that blah, 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 right? And 1,000%, 1,000% right. As he says, like, you think you can move things and do whatever with your mind, and she just wasted over the door. Like,
always opens the door. Take your lead.
Look, here's the reality of it. She could have Jedi mind tricked him. She could have done any number of things, like him just being there. There are any number of things that a Jedi could have done to make it like you don't really think that. You know what I mean? Like you don't even really think that. You know what I mean? We are not the Jedi you're looking for. Like that, literally. Like here's what's funny. There's this thing about how I keep hearing people like the Jedi are so good and they're so whatever. We have watched the Jedi lie, cheat, steal, and trick the entire time we've known them. These are not the droids you're looking for. Wow. Is literally it is a lie. It is trickery. It is tomfoolery. They are about it. And I've never seen anything that says they're not allowed to do it or they can or they shouldn't. I've never seen anything that says they have to do it for the greater good. That's just where I am. Now, how we get to a place where the Jedi are in a position where they're like the only one who can train somebody in the use of the Force, it's got to be us. I want the story that makes that something goes so terribly wrong that they feel like that's what it has to be.
They're the only ones that can
do
it.
That there's a story, right? That there's a story that has to be there. But like for what this show is and for what this episode did, that conversation, I think, in a nutshell, is the biggest, most important thing about what this show is and explains all of kind of where we are and the direction that it goes from here on out, right? That like you guys are unchecked, out of power, and it needs the balance of power needs to be us hauling you in, keeping you in check and putting you in place, right? And then, and his statement about you walk around pretending that you have control over this thing you can't control, and she thinks it's the Force, and he says, I'm talking about feelings. You are human beings, you're people with emotions, and trying to walk around pretending that you can always have your emotions in check, not a real thing, right? And so, in the end of this, as Soul is doing the thing, the only thing that is really the thing that Jedi are not supposed to do, which is get in touch with their feelings, right as he is about to try to tell Osha he did it because he loves her, you're not even allowed to say that word. I'm going to choke it out of you. Right? And then he just tells her, it's okay. We're not even going to let you say love. Don't even, I'm going to choke it. Why? Because that's the thing that as a Jedi, you're not supposed to do. You can't tell me that the reason why I couldn't be a Jedi is because I couldn't keep my feelings in check. And now you're telling me that the reason why you didn't tell me about your lies and your deceit and your deception is because you had feelings that you couldn't express? That feels a little backwards to me. So how about we just don't breathe anymore? How about
no?
Right. You know what I mean? Like that's just, it is what it is. And nobody tries to stop them.
Nope.
Nobody
stood there and watched.
Sis sat right there and
let her
watched it happen.
Let her feel that. Yep.
because she wanted her to
was
have
like, yup, there she
Yeah.
is.
That's
Your
my
sister was
sister.
like,
That's my sister.
All right, sis, we gotta go now. Let's go. It's a dead body.
And again,
Let's go.
so things left on the floor. I
Mhm.
have issues with. Chimera told her, what are you after? What do you want? I want the power of 2. I'm still thinking that means he's trying to get both of them. He doesn't have that. Is the power to him and Osha as opposed to him and May? Is
think
that
that's what
a
it
power
is.
of 2 that he needs in order to get over on Plagueis?
in the lore, like the power of 2 is the Sith and the apprentice, the master and the apprentice. So if he's talking about, I want the power of 2, that generally insinuates master and apprentice.
Correct.
He would be he would be the master in that relationship, and she would be his apprentice.
Correct. Yeah. There's a point in every apprentice's life where they have to reach in order to overcome their master. At that point, if you wait to get an apprentice, you're behind. So it's almost expected to have the master apprentice and their acolyte. So
Right.
I think that's kind of, he wants the power of 2. He sees that Osha is actually that potential.
Right.
So
Yeah, I mean, the start of this episode where like she's in the helmet and it's just like,
Oh man,
her
when
strong,
he
like her
gonna kill him.
when he reached for her, I like lost
What
it.
about it?
Like,
what about it?
oh that struggle was real.
he was so upset. He was like, "What's wrong, baby?"
Because he was dying. That's why.
No, that was a pure what the fuck moment. Like literally, just like
she was crushing his whole
I think he was
insides.
worried about her. I think he didn't know.
That was the fear that she's about to kill me right now.
Happening to her, he didn't know.
No, that was the fear that I don't know what she's doing, and she finna kill both of us right now.
He doesn't see her eyes. He just sees her kind of like shaking. So he doesn't
Frosty,
know what's happening.
This was not a romantic moment. He was
Nope.
trying to
I will
live.
have my Oshimir.
Hey, listen, hey, Sin, hey, listen.
This was not a romantic moment.
I don't know how the Sith roll, but that could just be that's the type of love to do, like the pain and the suffer. So
no, that moment was not that. That moment was get the fuck up off me.
I like that. I recognize and will raise you. Some people like to be choked. Nah, and my man was my man was like, he was looking for his safe word. Let me tell you, it had gone too far.
Pineapple,
like,
pineapple, stop, pineapple,
banana. Yo, he's in there yelling cortosis, like something, like he just.
Oh my god.
My man eyes she was getting ready to have complete control of him somehow.
Oh,
she didn't
100%.
know she wasn't gonna be able to control it. But like
at first she didn't. Like all he sees is her shaking, and then he reaches for her, and that's when the black hits in his eyes. Like he doesn't know what's happening, and then suddenly like he's reaching for her, and it's almost like that witch side came like, don't mess with me. But like at first he's worried. He doesn't know what's happening. It doesn't hit him until he reaches for her.
I think you can have that. We're not gonna fight about whether or not. Listen, I want you watch it again because you didn't get to watch it again. You watch it again.
I watched that moment a couple times.
Yes, of course.
I bet you did.
Of course.
I bet you did. I have seen rumors, and I don't like them, that are talking about the idea that Plagueis might actually just be controlling and speaking through Chimera.
I don't like that.
The way that, in the same way that Snoke was basically a puppet, was being. There's
another one of those.
Look, there's a thing from the legends that talks about like midichlorians and like maxichlorians, and them being able to have a thing that does that allows them to disperse their maxichlorians into another being to basically put themselves. Yeah, I know exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Hey, Sam,
In order to like
put your Maxichlorians in.
gain
See?
control / live on, if you will. You know, through someone else. And like it's a thing in legend lore. It's not a thing that's canon, but
Mhm.
again, as they're pulling things that are coming from legends and making the pieces that I think make the most sense or that will fit the narrative they want to construct. Again, I don't like it, but it does beg for me. Like, we know where Plagueis ends up and who Plagueis's apprentice ends up being and what happens to Plagueis. So where these two now fit into this story is like, we better have a season 2.
Yeah.
Oh, you're muted.
I forgot I was muted because I was looking up other people feel the same way about Chimera and Osha. And
That don't mean they right.
I'm just saying it's not just me. Anyway,
No.
knowing what I know about Darth Plagueis,
Uh-huh.
I forgot where I was going with it.
Okay.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, we know what the story is of Plagueis.
Yeah.
Like we know
We got
who
the whole story.
I'm trying to remember. Like, I literally had a thought, and then
Well, I'll repeat what I said. That we know who his apprentice, quote unquote, ends up being, and we know what happens to Plagueis. So where these two fit in is like,
that's the question.
What does that mean, right? But you know, I know that there are stories where, yep, they're on a planet and they're mining cortosis, and that, if I'm not mistaken, he killed Tenebris in one of those mines.
Not on this. So this one is similar to a resort kind of planet that Darth Plagueis has a home on that Tenebris kind of brought him to.
Mm-hmm.
But Tenebris dies on a different planet.
Okay.
Kind of like disappointingly too. So I'm excited to see if they decide to change how he dies.
Yeah. I'm look, I think as an episode, I think this is an episode that is serviceable. Like it serves a decent purpose of trying to wrap up at least Soul's story line. I think that's maybe what some of the issue with this season of this show for me is that this is the Acolyte. It appears to be May's story.
Right.
I'm sorry, Osha's story.
Right.
And then maybe May wrapped up in it. And then the long and short of it, it technically ends up being Soul's story.
Yeah.
And we don't get the Acolyte, so to speak, until the final episode. And so that makes me feel like all of this is like a prelude to the story of the Acolyte. We don't get an Acolyte until the very end of it.
Yeah.
And so the prelude is what this is. This is really Soul's story. And what happened to Soul, how we got to this person being the Acolyte, where, you know, I think in normal lore,
origin story.
Yeah, we may have started with Osha already being an Acolyte, and then us wondering, well, how'd that happen? You know what I mean? And then it's this whole thing about her having a twin sister and blah blah blah. You know what I mean? And like them kind of filling in. So I feel like this is more of a prelude to what that story is, because to call the show the Acolyte, and it's not that it's not about May and Osha, but really,
but his storyline is just as prominent.
It's much more about Soul, I feel like, and what happens to Soul, because call it what you want, he's the star of the show.
Yeah,
he's a fan favorite. I'll give you that.
I mean, he's a you know, by popularity of international in terms of international popularity.
Yeah,
he's up there. Like, there's like, as an actor,
those
he's
eyes
up
are gonna
there
be on him over there. Yeah,
for sure, right? And I do think that what he brings to the character as a whole is up there. Amandla is, I think, great in terms of parent trapping. Like, there's an entire fight where they fight each other, and you kind of forget there's not two of them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For me,
You know what I mean? Like,
it takes me out of it a little bit when it's something like that, because I'm like, well, I know this isn't a twin, so like, how are they pulling this off? For me,
But
that it
she's
does pull me out. A
still
little
physically manifesting herself.
Oh,
so
she's
I'm
doing phenomenal in it. It's just me. Like, that is purely a me thing where I'm like, I know this is the same person. All I want to know is how are they pulling this off?
I mean, look, I think she's got a body double for sure, and they're shooting it from multiple angles. Like, all the angles where they're fighting each other or they're in scenes together, you only see one from the back and you see the other from the
stunt double.
How clean it is. Like, in that final
it's edited so well.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah, when the two of them both go to kick each other, and then it cuts to the two lightsabers. You know, like, that's one of the cleanest. That's better than any Star Wars wipe they've ever done. Like, we can get rid of the Star Wars wipe. I'm officially over it. Like, we can just do that from now on. Let two people kick each other in the place, right? Like that. You know, that's it's. You know, that was a solid fight. The idea of him like reversing the lightsabers and then pulling Soul's lightsaber towards him to try to hit him in the head to short circuit his lightsaber. I was like, oh, this is how you do it. You know what I mean? Like that, so clean. And then of course, like, being smart enough to like turn it off. Because to me, that would have been the first thing I do. Like, if you've got your lightsaber on the other side and you're pulling it towards your own head and it shorts, I'm gonna turn mine off and let you hit yourself in the head and short your own joint out. But like, Soul's not as dope a fighter as me. So like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like one thing. You know what I mean? One thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? You know, he did have hands. No, he had feet. I don't know if he got hands so much, but he had feet.
Yeah, both, because he was the only one that could put down Chimera.
In episode 5, he was
fit.
Yeah, he wasn't playing.
He was with it. He was with it.
Had to tap into emotions.
His force powers kind of weak.
Yep.
Makes you think if you just use your emotions, you're a little bit stronger.
Emotional.
Well, again, I think that's where Ahsoka ends up. I think that's where Ahsoka ends up, right? Like,
I would love to hear him say that with the mask on jokes.
Emotional damage.
All right, so look, maybe I'm at a 7 for this episode, right? A 6 might be a little harsh. I want answers, and nobody knows where Coral is, and that's
the burning question for you.
That's at least dropping 2-letter grades for me, easy. Like
that's when it's protection. You got to wait 10 years before you figure out where Coral is.
Like, that's so. Where are you? Where are you? And what are you doing?
Where are
you know what I'm
thou?
saying? I don't like it. I don't like it. That's not a thing you just leave. You go back to Brendock too,
right?
You need to show up.
Maybe some maybe they had her sneaking and hiding somewhere in the background. They cut it off the.
Bro, she was supposed to be under that tree when they got to that tree. When she was like, when I fell down, I got sucked into this hole. You did not. You know, you did not get sucked into that hole. But okay, like I didn't. Again, there are things I don't like. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what kind of air conditioning system are you running in this place that a whole 8-year-old child got sucked into a tunnel when she was falling down? Like, and listen, look.
You've seen it before.
Star Wars being what it is. I know that in the galaxy far, far away, gravity is exactly the same on every planet. Like, I'm cool with that. It is what it is.
When Luke falls off an upside down antenna, it just falls into just nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Well, that's what you. Come on.
Got it.
Listen, bro. Bottomless pits. Bottomless pits, bro. Yeah. So 6 might be a little harsh, but you're gonna tell me where Mother Coral is. She's supposed to be under that tree, making poison. She's supposed to be making poison. Where did she get? She clearly has been back to Brenda. Where did she get the poison that she used? Like it.
Chimera had it.
Yeah, that means he been there. Something's not right.
Maybe
That means he
she told him about it. That when they were friends before we see them for the first time on
True.
what the heck is that planet? Whatever in that market, like
Yeah.
they've been knowing each other. So it's possible she told him and he was like, I just happened to get this for you.
I'm gonna keep it a
What do you
buck.
know? What I have in my bag right here. It just so happens.
Some
Remember that
poison.
that one random poison tree, you know, from your home planet?
She knew exactly what it was. It's like, come on, man. I think Kame was only treating May like that because May never let him hit. And it wasn't happening. He was acting bumbling. She was like, nope, not happening. Osha was like, psh, I've been drinking and hanging out with the men. I get down. What's up? You know what I'm saying?
I seen you in that water.
Yep.
What's up? Yeah, like
I seen what you're working with.
yeah, I say that. I know
There was
a
like
spa,
a meme.
I know a spa treatment spot when I see one.
Hey.
There was like a meme or something that I saw on X that was like me when Chimera gets out of that water and it's Osha like looking down and then looking back. I seen it.
Checking for that Jacinto. I need grades for the season.
Okay.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Catching jokes by his toe. Jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Grade for this season of The Acolyte.
Overall, 7.
Damn, Frosty. She looked
7.
defeated.
Listen, you got me on the last episode. You got me
Listen,
kind of
like,
right.
listen.
Outburst.
Hold on. Look, jokes at 7, and then Frosty said she was like, "You dirty Jedi."
You will give this a 13.
Like
That's not how I'm gonna work it, jokes.
Oh, that was
13.
hilarious.
Let me go get a lightsaber real quick.
yeah,
Give us a 13.
dirty Jedi. Sin. Overall grade for the show.
Right now, I'm at a 7, but I do feel like if I watch it again in like a couple years or so, or whatever, like whenever they announce the next season is coming, I go to just recap. It might change because now that it's over, I've seen it in its entirety. Like I said, I enjoyed the last episode, even though I've had issues throughout it. I can see me adjusting my score probably a little bit higher. Sitting down and watching it again after just going through it for this first time, knowing just how things turn out and such. So right now, though, a 7.
So I think as a whole for this first season, I'm at like an 8.
Okay.
And I think it's just because, again, I've had issues from an episode to episode basis, but we've talked about that and how I feel like the way that the show is structured, it is kind of like this episode doesn't really exist on its own. You kind of need the other episodes to feed back. You know, it's a full feedback loop. And so any one episode by itself, in terms of telling the story, doesn't quite exist on its own. And so I think when you put it all together, I think it's pretty solid. I mean, it does tell a cohesive story. And I think when you can frame it the way I've ended up having to frame it, like, you know what? This isn't really Osha's story to me. This is like how Guardians of the Galaxy was actually Rocket Raccoon's story the whole time. This was like what happened to Soul. You know what I mean? How do we get there? What are the troubles with this Jedi who wants a Padawan, who feels like he's doing all the right things and making all the right moves, even if he's breaking Jedi code to do it because it feels right. And so I think making a statement of like, yeah, it's not. I think we've only ever seen or been taught that it is when Jedi allow themselves to have emotions that are tapped into fear or anger that things go wrong. But that's not the case. right? It is, even when they feel like they're doing the right thing, it's still fear, right? Like for him, it was fear that these witches were going to harm these children, right? That it didn't lead him to the dark side, but it didn't work out the way that he anticipated. So even feeling like you're doing the right thing, having feelings of love, having feelings of parentage and wanting to protect someone or protect people can lead you to jump to conclusions and to not necessarily ask all the questions and to make assumptions, and that can lead you down a path that isn't the one that you intended. And so I like that it shed a lot of light on the depth and the intricacy on both sides of light and dark within the Force, right? That being in touch with your emotions doesn't necessarily make you bad, doesn't necessarily mean you have to be evil. And I have a feeling that that's actually the direction that we're going to end up going with Osha. There's no part of me that believes that Osha is evil or is bad or really even is a Sith. Like I don't think that's what it is. Her turn doesn't feel solid to me.
It's not.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't feel angry enough. It doesn't feel like she was hurt and sad. And you could certainly say there's anger in there, but that's not how it felt to me. And for her and her sister to be two halves of a whole, for her to have been so one side and then go to the other side so quick, like that turn happens. But the push that we've seen when it happens with other characters has been, I feel like, so much more definitive. And this feels like a lot less than that. There's still a lot of love in her heart. There's still a lot of like, I want to protect my sister and I hope that she gets blah, blah, blah. And I still think there's a lot of that that's still sitting there that is going to end up being an issue for her that will allow her to have access to powers and abilities that she won't use for the things that they might want her to use them for. And it could easily turn against them. And I like that. Like, I like that portion of the open-ended part of it. Frosty, give me a grade for the entire season of The Acolyte.
I'll fall within your category of 1 to 10 as a 10. Anyway, this season gave so much to somebody like me that it's hard for me to look at it in a harsh light. It fueled the fan service. It gave us the fanfic, like that, but it also gave us the lore. It built on stories that did exist, didn't exist. It introduced new tropes, new potential feelings towards the Jedi that some of us already knew. And it expanded on your thoughts of this whole universe. And I love that I do enjoy the fact that it is so polarizing in so many different ways. It does open up great conversations. Even if sometimes it gets a little crazy, but overall this season was so much fun. I had so much fun watching the season, speculating, talking about it. I've never had so much fun talking about a Star Wars thing.
Cool.
I get it. I get it. I don't know how a show that is so much about the evenness of light and dark, good and bad. It is a show about opposites, not be polarizing. Yeah. That's kind of the point.
Yeah.
That's kind of the point. So,
if anyone's interested, I'm planning on doing a rewatch on the Black Squadron Discord on Sunday of the whole series leading up to
what time? Because I might have to jump in like
special guest.
What time are you starting?
I haven't figured that out yet. We're not recording until 8:30, so I kind of have to like do all the math.
Do the math.
Yeah, but it'll probably be later morning.
Okay. We'll see about that. Frosty, I want to thank you for hanging out with us for the majority of these episodes to talk about the Acolyte and to shine some Star Wars light, some dark red light on these episodes. Your knowledge is impeccable, and we really do appreciate you. We'll have you anytime for whatever show, but like, this is kind of what it is. So thank you again for
Thanks for
hanging out with us.
having me. Skeleton Crew releases at the end of the year.
Oh,
I mean, I might be down. I'm not saying yes, but I'm not saying no, which sounds like the Acolyte show. You don't know what's happening. Look, we're gonna get out of here. This has been your episode of Spoiler Boys for the final episode, episode 8 of the Acolyte, titled Acolyte.
Season 1.
Only season. Let me listen. Is the next season gonna be called the Acolyte? Will it be Acolyte season 2, or will they call it something
It
else?
could. She technically.
I feel like
only
I feel like
just
it'll still be the
started,
Acolyte.
So
Again,
It'll
this was
still
the
be the Acolyte.
Season
prelude,
2.
right?
Season 2.
Okay, the Acolyte season 2.
Yeah.
You're all banking on it. It's
Mhm.
definitely happening.
Mm-hmm.
The next episode is gonna be The Virgins. One. You're all wrong. Yeah, look, hopefully that's the case, and we'll all be back for that. But whatever the Star Wars thing is, we'll be back for it at some point.
Facts.
Again, I want to thank y'all for watching, for hanging out, for tuning in. We appreciate your feedback and all of that good stuff. We're gonna wrap this up, get out of here. We're out. Toodles loose.
Loading snacks.